When you're up to your ass in alligators, it's often difficult to remind yourself that the initial objective was to drain the swamp. And that's exactly what the folks at Oroville are faced with right now in order to back themselves out of the corner that the lack of redundancies have kind of got themselves into.
What?
Test the work. I'm not sure what you mean by testing. So we don't want to take.
Boy, some of these media questions tell me they don't have a clue what's going on in the mainstream media. Test the emergency spillway? Are you kidding me? That's the whole idea. To not use the emergency spillway again. Okay, a lot of good information today from the Department of Water Resources press briefing on Monday the 27th of February. Big changes. This is the equivalent of the Battle of Midway for the Oroville Reservoir. This is the make or break turning point, turning of the tide of events at Oroville. If they can successfully complete this plan that they've got for this week, they will soon be able to lift the emergency evacuation warning from the areas below the Oroville Dam. So I'll give you the brief overview of what the plan is, and then we'll get into a detailed overview because there's a delicate dance of a series of dams to make this plan work. Okay, here's the quick overview of the plan, starting with the numbers. We've got the reservoir down to a record 838 feet. Plenty of storage space. Outflows right now are beginning to ratchet down. They're going to ratchet down these outflows to zero here in the next couple of hours. So they're going from 50,000 CFS to zero today, Monday the 27th. Inflows are still varying wildly. We got a lot of good cold weather, some light snow pass through, so anywhere between 10,000 to 32,000 CFS. Now here's a column we're really going to want to start paying attention to, the river release column. This plays a big part of the dance of the dams here. The river, the water flowing back into the Feather River through the entire Oroville complex is somewhere on the order of 50 to 40,000 CFS right now. And here is the schedule for releasing water back into the Feather River. So we've got a good break in the weather, a good 7 to 10 day break in the weather that we're going to take advantage of, or that the folks at Oroville are going to take advantage of, and work on this pile of rubble that's been blown out of the spillway and causing the water to back up the Thermalito diversion pool and prevent the Hyatt power plant from operating. So during this week, they're going to shut the water off to the main spillway, clean all this crap out of here, get the water level back down to a manageable level in this Thermalito diversion pool, and get the Hyatt power plant up and operating so that they can better control the water coming out of the Oroville Dam. Again, remember, it's the water that's backing up to the Hyatt power plant exhaust ports that creates back pressure against the turbines, the electric turbines or turbines, for all my friends over in England, that prevents the Hyatt power plant from operating safely. So they've got to lower that water level below the exhaust ports of the Hyatt power plant before they can even begin to get the Hyatt power plant back into operation. Remember too, they also got to get the Hyatt power plant reconnected back to the grid because they had to remove the power lines because they were in the way of the emergency spillway. So it'll be with this equipment here, these floating barges and excavators working on three sides of the rock pile, upstream, downstream, and from the west side, to get that material out of there over the course of this week. So now let's take a little more in-depth look at this delicate dance and the wider Oroville complex to see how they're going to pull it off and take advantage of this break in the weather. With the current water level at Oroville at 839 feet, that allows plenty of flood storage space available for water running into the Oroville Reservoir. They're anticipating that average to be approximately 38,000 CFS inflow into Oroville, with zero flow out. That buys them the time they need to execute their plan. So what about the Feather River? You can't just shut it off to zero flow and have no water in the Feather River. That's where the rest of the Oroville complex comes into play. So here's the Thermalito diversion pool, and they're going to clean up the rock pile located right here. And the first point of release for the water is right here at this diversion dam. There's quite a bit of water in the Thermalito diversion pool to add to the Feather River. But downstream, we got the forebay and the afterbay controlled by another dam down here at the afterbay, and yet a dam in the middle here at the forebay. By delicately balancing all these bodies of water, 1, 2, 3 bodies of water, they want to maintain a minimum of 2,000 CFS into the Feather River. Now that's more like a summertime kind of flow into the Feather River, but that'll keep the Feather River alive. That prevents doing a complete kill of the fish population in the Feather River, amongst other things. Another concern is levees downstream. You want to maintain an even strain on the levees downstream. You don't want to suddenly take the load off of the levees and then put the load back on and add additional strain to the levees downstream. And then there's another concern about the main spillway. A main concern of the main spillway is as they shut the water off to it, at 50,000 CFS, as shown in this picture, the water flies off the end of the busted spillway and plunges into the plunge pool and down the mountain. And this has been a very stable situation. As you turn the water off and reduce that flow, the water no longer flies off the end of the busted spillway and into the plunge pool. It just kind of starts eating all the rocks and debris right in here, and could continue to head cut this spillway, the same old problem they've been worried about all along. So there's tons of monitoring going on right now of this entire situation as they reduce the flow to ensure that this doesn't head cut further up the way. Which brings up the point of drones again. Bill made a big point of it. We don't see any private drones in there. They've got a lot of professional drones in there that are monitoring the situation, and a helicopter. And time is of the essence on this repair. If somebody gets in there with a private drone and shuts down the whole operation, that's just going to goof up the entire timetable. So please stay away and respect the TFR or get in pretty serious trouble. Do not fly any private drones in this area. So with this big break in the weather, they figure they've got a 7-day window to get this done once and for all, to get this spillway cleaned out in one fell swoop. They want to avoid getting into a yo-yo effect where they gotta, if they find too much erosion here, they got to restart up the spillway, get everybody out of the way, refill up the diversion pool, until which time they can shut the spillway off. They want to avoid that yo-yo effect. They just want to shut it off once, clean it out, and then run the spillway at a reduced rate, and they want to determine how well will the spillway perform at about half that flow, about 25,000 CFS, without head cutting. Head cutting is just a fancy word for erosion in the uphill direction. Because you take that amount, plus the amount once they get the Hyatt power plant going of about 15,000 CFS, and now you've got good control over the reservoir again, and you can eventually lift the emergency evacuation warning, because you got enough redundancy built back into the system to safely manage the water at Oroville, even with the compromised spillway.